parte del profesor Ramiro Villeda, y él va a platicar de punto de Lean en una economía VUCA. Ramiro.
Thank you, Chet. Let me share my screen. And, okay, I plan to spend around 50 minutes to cover the material. I'm going to stop 2 times during the presentation. I'm going to have some Q&A or I will ask a couple of questions. And then I want to leave at least 10 to 15 minutes at the end to have some type of discussion. Okay, here we have the agenda. First, how are we doing in this VUCA world? When I say we, I mean Mexico, US, and Canada. How we North Americans, how are we doing in this VUCA world? I will compare with other countries. And the second section, I want to make together determine where are we? Are we at Industry 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0? And I'm sure that some companies are in one industry. So I'd like to know more or less where the majority of our companies, local companies are. And then section 3 is what is hybrid lean? Number 4, to close the advantages of a control tower operational excellence process. And here I'm going to use a couple of slides from demand-driven technologies, a webinar that Jordan Booster gave about two months ago. Okay, and then when I ask the questions, you have 2 options. You can turn your microphone on, or you can use the chat to answer the question. Okay. Let me start with the first part. For this, I'm going to use a chart presented in October last year by Toyota North America. It was a webinar, excellent webinar. Toyota North America groups the disruptors into 2 areas. The top, disruptors, which are impacting consumer experience, and at the bottom, disruptors that impact our manufacturing operations. And this is a quite, I mean, it has a lot of information, but I want to mention a couple of things. It's very likely that in the near future, people will no longer go to a dealership to get a car. The car will be, the differentiation in the cars will not be the horsepower or the size of the engines or motors, but will be related to the electronics, to the connectivity that the car offers. So the car will be maybe tailor-made or finished before they are delivered to the people's homes. So in retail, we're going to have a big disruption in many areas. I'm talking about now automotive. The cars are becoming huge computers on wheels because of the autonomous features or electrical drivetrain, etc. And then, of course, at the bottom, our life is going to be much more difficult. I'm talking about particularly in the automotive industry. Those guys, those companies are always ahead. And unfortunately for them, now they are facing the electrification, COVID, lack of semiconductors, disruptions in the supply chain, and believe me, it's not going to get easy in the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Okay, here is the first. Okay, here is a chart from demand-driven technologies. The chart shows U.S. manufacturing companies from 1995 to 2020.
Ramiro,
yes.
All we see is the agenda.
Oh, okay.
We don't see your advancing slides.
Okay, what can I do? Let me see. I am moving here. Let me see what. Let me go back to the first. Okay, can you see? Can you see the?
I can see the agenda.
Okay, let me disconnect and connect again.
Okay. Now I've got your handsome face.
Okay, okay, here is the.
Okay.
Can you see the chart?
Yes.
Okay, now let me move on. Let me know if it moves.
Yes.
Can you see the hand?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, here this is a chart from demand-driven technologies. It shows U.S. manufacturing from 1995 to 2020. It measures one metric: inventory to sales. How much inventory we had to sustain a certain level of sales. And you can see right here, 1995. If I continue with this line, we are exactly the same where we were 25 years ago. There are other metrics, but bottom line, we in North America are losing ground by the second. By the second, I mean, we are in deep trouble as a region. I don't deny that some companies are making money now, but as a region, we are drastically falling behind. Okay, I don't know if you can see my hand. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
The question is, how old is this hand? How old is this hand? You can see on the screen. Just guess, make a guess. I mean, there is one easy answer. Let me see. I see some. I don't know, Diana, if you can read me if somebody's answering. How old is this?
25. 25.
25
Years.
25? Yeah. Well, why
30.
Why 30?
32.
Do I look like 30? No. I say one answer is as old as you are. That's wrong. This hand is between 1.5 and 2 years old. The cells that make my hand are not older than 2 years old. And the same for my body. The point I'm trying to make is that we in the West, particularly in North America, we took the Greeks' teachings, the Greeks' philosophy very, very to heart. The world doesn't change. Things are constant. Don't worry, my friend, be happy. The future is the projection of the past. So that's something we have to change. If you go to the extreme, Singapore, Korea, Japan, China, they know that things change by the second. I remember one saying of Taichi Ono in one of his books. He said, every day we wake up with old ideas. No matter how much we try, we learn, every day we wake up with old ideas. And unfortunately, and I will, okay, this is not my opinion. Let me move on. And I can give you the website. This person, Gerd Hofstede, he's a Dutchman. He worked for IBM in the 60s and 70s. He and his son are the most, the experts on human thinking, on human mindsets. And let me show you, and I can give you the website if you can play with this. Let me show you a comparison of 3 countries. And remember, these comparisons are mostly for business people, because business people are the ones who travel the most, who go to top business schools. So business people are evaluated more often than the regular person. Here we have 3 countries, Mexico, Singapore, and the United States. And let me focus on 2 dimensions. On the left right here, you have uncertainty avoidance. The champions in the world, the people who don't fear uncertainty, the people who thrive on uncertainty are the Singaporeans. So here, the smaller the number, the better. On the other hand, on the other extreme, the people with the most aversion or most difficulty to deal with uncertainty are the Mexicans.
Pásame, Robert, comenta. ¿Qué ha habido?
Okay, no sé si then I wanna turn the microphones off. And then see, we have Mexicans with a very high, one of the highest in the world, inability to deal with uncertainty. And then we have the US in kind of in the middle. Now, let me introduce a European country. And this might surprise you. Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Holland are much closer to Eastern people than to the Anglo-Saxon people. Okay, so you can compare Singapore, Sweden, and the United States. Okay, the best to handle uncertainty are the Singaporeans, and then we have the Swedes, and then we have the Americans. Now, the next dimension is something like this. If you believe that the future is an extension of the past or a projection of the past, then why plan? Just keep doing the same thing you have been doing. No need to worry about the future. And in that respect, you see that of the three countries, the people who do the less planning for the future are the Americans, the North Americans. And then in the middle, the Swedes, and then the Singapore. Now, let me show you another chart, and let me introduce China. And in terms of uncertainty avoidance, it's kind of interesting. The Chinese are as good as the Swedes, 30 for the Chinese, 29 for the Swedes, as good to handle uncertainty. Not as good as the Singaporeans, but better than the Americans. Now, go to the other dimension. Here you have the country that plans the most and best for the future, the Chinese, and then Singapore, and then the Swedes, and then almost half of the Swedes, North Americans. What I'm trying to say is that for the VUCA world, if we analyze the different regions of the world, Southeast Asia, Central Europe, Western Europe, North America, we are the worst prepared mentally to deal with uncertainty. I'll come back to this in the next section. Okay, here you have a model which was is from the latest Peter Senge book. He said that there are two types of learning, what he called reactive learning, where we download our mental models as a framework, and then we read and we look for information. But we already have a problem. We're trying to fit into our mental model what we are learning between quote unquote. Let me read here. All learning integrates thinking and doing. In reactive learning, thinking is governed by established mental models, and doing is governed by established habits of action. In other words, we believe we are learning, but we don't. Because we go back to because our mindset focuses too much on the past, and we believe that experience is really the best way to learn. Okay, let me show you the other type of learning for you to contrast. This is a deeper levels of learning, and let me read it right here. Deeper levels of learning create increasing awareness of the larger whole, both as it is and it is evolving. In other words, on the left, we are learning not the parts, we are learning, trying to understand the system, the whole, and we are looking at the future. Deeper levels of learning create increasing awareness of the larger whole, both as it is and as it is evolving, and actions that increasingly become part of creating alternative futures. Okay, this is the most appropriate, the most effective way of learning for this VUCA world. Unfortunately, as I said before, we in North America are more likely to use the one on the left. I'll come back with one example later. Okay, from this Peter Senge book, page 86, learning based on the past suffices when the past is a good guide to the future. This makes you just true. If the future is the same as the past, yes, this is perfect to learn from the past. But it leaves us blind to profound shifts when all new forces shaping change arise, like it's happening now. Okay, let me move on now to try to find out where are we in terms of digitization or automation. And here, let me do a long story, a long review, starting from industry 1.0. Before the first industrial revolution, what we had was manufacturing activities, craft operations, craft-based production approaches. So it was not really an effective or industrial way of manufacturing. Fortunately, Frederick Taylor, which is considered as the father of the first industrial revolution, he created standards, routings, better designed tools, methods. So he got the mess or the ineffective environment we had before, and he made it sure that we had an effective operation like you have right here. The person here is working beautifully with inventory on the left of raw materials and finished products on the right. That was a huge big step forward for mankind. Now, the second industrial revolution, the father is Henry Ford. But here I have a question. Which of Henry Ford's innovations allowed the world to migrate from Industry 1.0 to Industry 2.0? Henry Ford focused on the system, not operation, not the machine, but the system. He found that the slowest task governs flow, and that he had to synchronize the activity of synchronization of activity to, through, and from those tasks created a system, created the output of the system. In other words, Frederick Taylor focused on improving the operation, which we badly needed. And then Henry Ford said, okay, now let's focus on the system, the whole production system. He did not focus on his machine shops. He focused on how to create how to improve a supply chain for a very complex product that was going to be mass produced. So let me repeat. Frederick Taylor improved the operation. Henry Ford improved the system. Ford focused on the slowest task governing flow and the overall flow of parts in the right quantity. And here we have some basic ideas of just in time to keep the assembly line flowing efficiently. He focused on system efficiency. And even though it took maybe another 60 to 70 years for another person, another great man who made this contribution, an hour lost at a bottleneck is an hour lost for the entire system. An hour saved at a non-bottleneck is a mirage. You know who said that? He was from Israel, great thinker, Eliyahu Goldratt. Goldratt was the person who put into writing many of his ideas, and some really came from Henry Ford. Now let's move. We're still talking about the Industry 2.0, but let me focus on Toyota. In 1988, Norman Bodek, who was the editor of Productivity Press, he was translating Taiichi Ono's book into English, and he interviewed Taiichi Ono. And he asked Taiichi Ono this question: what is Toyota doing now? 1988, and maybe Toyota had been doing this for 3-4 years. Here is Taiichi Ono's answer. It was very simple. All we are doing is looking at the timeline from the moment the customer gives us an order to the point when we collect the cash. System efficiency, from sales or I don't know, order taking to accounts receivable. Toyota was not focusing on eliminating waste in the production floor, on the production floor. So I don't know. My point is that also is part of our mindset. We tend to focus on individual things. We believe that we have a huge problem, and we break it, let's say, into 100 parts, that problem. And we give each part to a person, a group of people to solve it. After those 100 groups of people solve their part, if you put it together, we're going to have a decent or a reasonable solution. That makes no sense. It has never made sense, and it won't make sense in the next decades or the next years. So to summarize, 2 things we have to mitigate in our mindset. Our focus on our focus or idea that the things don't change, that the future is a projection of the past, and that we can solve individual problems And by solving those little problems, in the end, the system will improve. Okay, now let me move on to Industry 3.0. Is the use of automation and information technology systems to further enhance the machine or operations power and capabilities. This is equivalent to Frederick Taylor's contribution to increase industrialization. Okay. Before the first industrial revolution, it was a mess, very inefficient and very ineffective. Frederick Taylor drastically improved the operation. Henry Ford came and he improved the system. Industry 3.0, now for the second time or the second revisiting, now we were improving again the operation. So let me repeat. Operations, improvement of operation, improvement of the system. Improvement of operation, and Industry 4.0 is improvement of the system. There are three basic advantages or characteristics of Industry 4.0. Connectivity, flexible automation, and intelligence. Connectivity creates links between discrete network nodes, increasing visibility in real time. Flexible automation incorporates response mechanisms, automation, and remote movement and monitoring. Intelligence automates event recognition and translation for decision making. Here you have, this is from Singapore, maybe the best chart I have seen on Industry 4.0. This is the whole chart. At the center, you have Industry 3.0. And according to the people in Singapore, if you believe you are if you want to confirm you are in Industry 3.0, you must have either a SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, or a MES, a manufacturing execution system, which is common I have seen in Juarez, several automotive companies who have it. If you don't have a SCADA/MES, then according to the Singapore model, you are really Industry 2.0. But anyhow, to move, you need to be in Industry 3.0 with these characteristics in order to connect to a group of players. Let's say to the left is your supplier, the supplier, your supplier, and the supplier, the supplier, the supplier. To the right, you connect toward the market. So the point here is that we need a nervous system. The SCADA or the MES perform the functions of the nervous system in the human body. Now, let me ask the second question. Section 2, we were trying to answer, where are we? Industry 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0? And let me repeat. Industry 1.0 was the drastic improvement of the operation. 2.0 of the improvement of the system. 3.0, again, drastic improvement of the operation. And 4.0, again, improvement of the system. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, or 4? In your particular companies, in particular operations in Juarez, or where you are. I don't think we have one. I don't think I have seen. I have seen, but not very common. 1.0. That's way too behind. So we should be between two. Some of in 2, others in 3, and very few. I have seen in Juarez a couple of, maybe 1 or 2, 4.0. But where are the rest? Where do you think you are? Are you using automation and IT systems to further enhance the machine, the operations of your machines? Let me see, Diana, can you help me? I don't know, any answers, comments, questions?
One of the participants says between 2 and 3.
Okay, that's good. Yep.
Isaí Hernandez, 2.0. Some others, 2.0. Yes.
Yeah. I would guess that most of them are between 2 and 3, which is so it's great. Okay, 2 and 3. I was going to say it's okay. it's not okay. If you go to Sweden, to Switzerland, to Austria, to Germany, and Denmark, those guys are between closer to 4, between 3 and 4, between 3 and 4. If you go to South Korea, you go to Taiwan, they are very close to 4. So if we are between 2 and 3, and our competitors in Asia and Europe are between 3 and 4, then we're one stage behind. So let's keep in mind that. But we have to run. We have to really run to catch up with those countries. Okay, now in a nutshell, what is hybrid lean? Let me use an analogy. In many or most Canadian, US, and Mexican operations of US companies, the most important means of improvement is and has been Lean or Lean Six Sigma. And it's okay. I did that for many companies in the 90s. It's okay. Lean or Lean Six Sigma was the pilot of the improvement machine. From now on, what we have to do is switch. Now the Lean philosophy, the Lean methodology, the Lean experts, the Lean gurus will be the co-pilots, because they are trying to fix. They're trying to build the future using the experience of the past. Here we have a new pilot. I really believe that pilot is demand-driven MRP, demand-driven operating model, demand-driven adaptive enterprise. They have to take charge. Lean is still useful, but as a co-pilot, as an advisor, as a second set of eyes to help the pilot. Okay, I have 3 more slides and then enough time for Q&A. Okay, we need to focus in the future, right? In life, that's the best way to face life. But we have a problem. We are here. We need to fix, or we need to plan for the future. Where do we focus our efforts, or where do we draw knowledge from our experience? And that's the past, right? So many times, having too much experience doing the same thing. Okay, there is a proverb I like from India. It goes like this: It's bad when you have only one idea. I'm sorry. It's bad when you have no ideas. It's bad when you have no ideas, but it's worse when you have only one. And for many companies, the only thing they know is Lean. Lean has been oversimplified, has lost many of its original elements from the Toyota production system, and we're trying to face the future with that experience. Okay, so the approach or the approach or the mindset that the demand-driven institute, companies such as demand-driven technologies, B2Ys are promoting is based on, let's change a couple of things. Number one, we need to operate based on market demand, actual market demand. Avoid forecast for actual production orders. And that can be done by using
Look, I got Monica on the line with us.
Okay, by using buffers, strategic buffers, and by using a system, a software when you go company-wide that allows you to minimize or mitigate ERP deficiencies. Okay, let me show to close 2 slides from the demand-driven technologies webinar that Jordan gave a couple of months ago. I mean, talking about the control tower. if in today's environment, every airplane which is flying was fully controlled by the pilots, it will be a huge mess. But we will need many more control towers and control centers to direct the traffic. Fortunately, airplanes use autopilots to take the most efficient route, to coordinate with the control towers or control centers, to avoid traffic and bottlenecks. The pilot only intervenes on exceptions and eliminate human error. Exactly something like this or similar to this, you can do in your factories with demand-driven MRP. Exactly line by line. Imagine if supply chains could be managed the same way with confidence in the overall direction, the overall system, from the market to your operations, to your suppliers, to the supplier of your suppliers. With foresight into potential disruptions, you look into the future, you detect signals of something that might go out of whack. It issues alerts when adjustments are necessary, not like traditional MRP, which generate every day lots of alerts, and the planners don't know what to do with them, and manage by exception. Okay, to finish, let me read from the preface of this book by Margaret Whitley, 2006. Whatever your personal beliefs and experiences, I invite you to consider that we need a new worldview to navigate this chaotic time. We cannot hope to make sense using our old maps. It won't help you, it won't help to dust them off or reprint them, the old maps, in bold colors. The more we rely on them, the more disoriented we become. They cause us to focus on the wrong things and blind us to what is significant. An example, remember this, what used to be Bombardier Transportation, they were focused on the whole factory, 1 million square feet, 43 stations, when they only had problem in one. And why they were doing that? Because they had KPIs that they had to fill up, they had to report on their boards. And they used to have one per shift, one Gemba walk. They say the first shift was at 10. They thought they had some little improvements. So if one Gemba walk is good, let's have two, another at 2 o'clock. And the production people spend more time collecting information, collecting and making up information, data, to put on the boards for the Gemba walks. So some things which are, when that's not done with profound thought and analysis, just become like a routine, like a bad habit. Okay, so let me the last part. It won't help to dust them off or reprint them in bold colors. The more we rely on them, the more disoriented we become. They cause us to focus on the wrong things and blind us to what's significant. By using them, we will only journey to greater chaos. Okay. Okay, we have a few minutes. Questions, comments? Let me see if we have any in the chat. Okay, here we have a question about Norman Bodek. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, or early this year. He passed away recently. Great man.
Dr. Villeda, Edward, I believe he wants to ask you some question. Edward,
Okay, Edward,
if you want to open your microphone.
Well, thank you, Diana.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Diana. Amir Hussein talked about this being the age of exponentials in terms of manufacturing, in terms of learning. And your quote from Margaret Wheatley, and then your talk earlier today about the past being a guide for the future came to mind. when I was reflecting upon Amir Hussein saying, this is the age of exponentials. Basically, he's saying that the past maps are no good anymore. Things are moving too fast, both in manufacturing and in the technological arena. I just thought I'd throw that out and see if you have any comments to that.
No, I agree. I agree. And maybe the question for you, Edward, the question is, because I have people ask me this question: what's happening in education? Because you are the future. What are you doing differently? So when I mean, what the educators are doing now to train or to teach, to educate our young people to face this new world. Are we up? I mean, is the educational system up to this challenge?
There's actually talk about the education system going the way of VCRs and CDs. It's just not meeting the demands that we have in the manufacturing industry in terms of the skill sets of the people we're producing. People want skill sets, not necessarily degrees.
Yes.
But at the same time, they do value the technical training and the technical background you get with a traditional four-year degree.
Yes. Yes. Let me share a short example. I have a friend of mine. He has two sons. One is 25. He's working. He said, Ramiro, I think my son needs to get an MBA. That was about a year ago. And because of COVID, he's going to do a online MBA or in a second or third tier university. I told my friend, no, that's a huge mistake. He's going to waste 2 or 3 years, $40,000 on an MBA degree from a third-rate university. It's useless. I rather ask him, or I suggest him to get, as you said, there were skills, specific skills, machine learning, Python. So there are specific skills that you can learn, even get a certificate for a few $1,000s that are more valuable than all MBA online from a low rated university. But we still believe in degrees. You're right. Okay, presentation. The answer is I have a couple of slides, 3 or 4 slides, 2 from the demand-driven institute and 2 from demand-driven technologies. I have to get the permission for me to share those slides. So after I clear those permissions, I will share the presentation.
Thank you, Ramiro.
Okay.
I was happy and sort of despairing at the same time when you started talking about the company that went back and started looking at their core data, and by actualizing their core data, they got a huge benefit. It's one of the things that I've talked to companies about for years and years, because when they put in a new system, the people that are doing the work don't have any say in what goes into the system. It's usually done by a team from the software company. And the expectation is after they leave, then we're going to turn this into our own system. But people get busy answering the reports, looking at all of the gugas that they got with this new system, but they never go back to see, is it telling me the truth? Does it know what the truth is? And so we get on that treadmill and we have to find a way off.
Yeah, and there is another factor, Chet. In this particular company, the routings were wrong because in the past few years, those routings were improved by continuous improvement teams, which is okay. But the improvement was never translated, was never passed to the computer system. So the physical improvements were good, but they never changed the data. So that's another reason why we cannot have teams and teams of people improving on the floor, because sometimes we don't even have the time to document those improvements.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you so much. We got some positive feedback for you. Deanna's got it. She'll share it with you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you all for attending. We'll be back next month. Deanna will be putting out the information. We'll have Apex for lunch in about 3 weeks. We wait till the last minute to tell you what we're going to talk about because usually it's a current events kind of show. So we'll see where we are. Anyway,